Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Today we're going to be talking about Dusk Till Dawn, but more importantly, Vynnset, the newest Shadow Runeblade hero that was released to be coming out in Dusk Till Dawn. I personally am super excited. Obviously, with the lack of Chain and Classic Constructed, we needed a new hero to step in and take that place. So in today's video, we're going to be looking at what I would suggest are 5 cards that you pick up so that you don't miss the boat if you do plan on playing Vynnset. So not long after the initial spoiler of this image of Vynnset, LSS did share with us the next Armory kit, which gave us a little bit more insight into what Vynnset might be capable of. So let's go ahead and take a look. Here it is on the front cover of the Flesh and Blood website. It is the June 2023 Armory kit with that beautiful image, which we can see is the People's Champion playmat. And here also we have a picture of Vynnset in, I'm assuming, their older adult form. So along with this adult version of Vynnset and this amazing playmat, they've also shown us Phantom Banshee and Flail of Agony. Now Phantom Banshee is a 3-cost 7 attack that says Rune Gate. If you control rune chance equal to or greater than Phantom Banshee's cost, you may play it from your banished zone without paying its cost. So, and it also has Blood Debt, and that is the technique of the Shadow class, is that you will have access to your banished zone and be able to play cards out of that. And especially if most of y'all remember Chain, he was a menace in his banished zone. You know, he would be able to play 4, 5, 6 cards out of his banished zone late game and just wreak complete havoc on his opponent. Now Phantom Banshee does differ greatly from cards like Amplify the Arknight, which just removes the cost or replaces the cost depending on how many rune chance you have. Phantom Banshee does say you have to have at least 3 rune chance or more for it to be able to be played from your banished zone. So that is interesting, but it does give us an insight into Vynnset wanting to play with rune chance. So keep that in mind when we look at these cards in just a minute. Now, Flail of Agony is their signature weapon. Vynnset specialization is a once per turn action, and it costs no money, no resource. It costs 1 life, and it says 1 life attack. When this hits, create a rune chant token, and it hits for 1. Now again, there's that rune chant name. So Vynnset is a hero that clearly will care about rune chants and rune chant generation to help supplement their play patterns. All that said, now that we've gotten to take a look at the little bit of information that Legend Story Studios has given us in Phantom Banshee and Flail of Agony, let's get into some of the cards that I think you need to scoop up before they're all gone. Alright, first up we've got Mordred Tide. Now Mordred Tide is no new card whatsoever. This was initially released in Arcane Rising and is actually on the lower end of cost in the cards that we'll be looking at today, which is surprising because Arcane Rising as a whole has gone up dramatically, somewhere in the $120, $140 range for just 1 booster box, and that is obviously because it is an older set, it's been out of print for a long time, and the cards are just becoming a little bit more scarce to come by. So here we have Mordred Tide. It is a card that says until the end of turn, if you would create a rune chant token, instead create that many plus 1. Go again. It's a 0 cost, it's a red pitch, it does block for 3, which a lot of Runeblade non-attack actions do not do. Again, this is a Majestic, so you probably aren't going to be wanting to block with this unless you're in a really tight situation. But knowing that it has the utility of the 3 block is fantastic in the Runeblade class, which they don't have much access to. Now, rune chants typically haven't been the staple of other Runeblade heroes in the past, such as Briar or Chain, though they can generate these extra bit of spicy hits to sprinkle in their combat chain. They haven't really focused or cared much about rune chant generation, so this card has pretty much flown under the radar and been utilized primarily by Viserai. So now that we know that Phantom Banshee and cards like Flail of Agony kind of have that rune chant synergy, Mordred Tide may have a comeback into Vynnset and not just be strictly utilized in Viserai. So this is a card that is $6.50 currently here on TCG Player. And that is pretty standard. It hasn't really gone up much in the past, I don't know, month or so. It's been sitting kind of in the $4 to $5 range. Yeah, even all the way back to the initial beginning of the month. Let's just go all the way back. So actually, cards here as low as $2.97 on 5/11. So We've seen a little bit of an increase. Now, the increase really happened when you start to get into Rainbow Foil Unlimited, because everybody likes to bling out their deck. Naturally, they tend to go for the shiny version of the card. So here is where we're seeing a pretty sharp spike in price. This card did typically sit around the $15 range in Rainbow Foil for a very long time, even when Viserai was in his prime. So get these while you can, because I think sooner or later the unlimited non-foil card is actually going to go up in price. I could see Mordred Tide, because it has so much synergy in Viserai, who is very prevalent in the meta even now that Oldhim has hit Living Legend, and he has a little bit less of a gatekeeper in the meta. And now that Vynnset is in the meta, we will definitely see this card go up in price. Alright, next on the list is Rattlebones. Rattlebones is, again, it's another one of the older cards, just a set right after Arcane Rising, Crucible of War. Now this card, even looking at this image here where the unlimited edition market price is still saying $11.14, that has obviously dramatically gone up, because we're sitting at around $18 to $19 for just a single copy of this card. Rattlebones says, banish target Runeblade attack action card from your graveyard. You may play it this turn. If you've dealt arcane damage to an opposing hero this turn, you may play Rattlebones as though it were instant, and it has go again. Now here's another one of those non-attack action cards that has a 3 block, which is fantastic. It is, again, a red pitch. It does cost 2. Now, if you have dealt arcane damage to your opponent this turn, you can play this as an instant, and it will actually replenish its action point because it has go again itself. So a great target to play off of Spellbound Creepers, or just to continue on with your combat chain and dig into your graveyard for a card that you can then put into your banish zone and play from your banish zone. Now, Rattlebones is very unique in the Shadow Runeblade class as a whole, because as we know, you have access to your deck. Everyone has access to their deck, but Shadow Runeblades have access to their banish zone as well. Now, introducing a card like Rattlebones allows you to have access to your graveyard, which means of all 3 zones that you will potentially have cards in throughout the game, you as a Shadow Runeblade now have access to every single one of those zones because of cards like Rattlebones. Again, $18.81. This card has really shot up quite a bit. I think even a few days ago, yeah, we were starting to see some scalping prices somewhere in like the $25-$30 range for just an unlimited non-foil copy. It seems like the prices slowly come back down, but I wouldn't be surprised if this is just kind of where it stays until we see what Vynnset actually does. And even after that, I only expect it to go up. So Rattlebones is my second suggestion for you to pick up. Now, moving on to the next suggestion is Revel in Runeblood, a card hated by most people, especially if you're not playing the card yourself. So this card was released in Everfest. It is a non-attack action. It is a 0 cost, hits blocks for 2, and it is a card that says if you've played an attack action card and another non-attack action card this turn, create 4 rune chants. At the beginning of your end phase, destroy all rune chant tokens you control. So, first of all, this is where we come back to the rune chant generation side of where Vynnset might really like to play. So let's say we've played a Mavrian Skies, which is a typical starter card for your combat chain in the Runeblade class. It's a card that says the next Runeblade card you play this turn gains go again. And if it were to hit, you can generate X amount of rune chant tokens depending on the pitch color of that card. Now, then you play an attack action card. Mavrian Skies gave that go again, and then we can slap down a Revel in Runeblood after that attack action. Now, let's say we have a card like Phantom Banshee in Banish Zone. Well, Revel in Runeblood just made us 4 rune chants, which meets the required condition for Phantom Banshee, and we can end our combat chain on a big, powerful 7 attack that we got to play essentially for no paid resources, and it's going to tax on the extra 4 rune chants that Revel in Runeblood made. So big combo line there. Obviously things have to line up perfectly, but this card has been an absolute staple in all 3 technically, in Chain when he was still able to play in Classic Constructed. Briar loves this card, and Viserai, I think, takes the cake as far as the hero that gets to play this card to its absolute abusive power. And if we can take a look here, it is a $25 card now. People are starting to find out that these rune chant generation power cards that Viserai really had the grip on are going to be very, very relevant in Vynnset, and I'm telling you right now, you really need to pick some of these up. Let's take a look at the sales history of Revel in Runeblood, just kind of over the course of the last few weeks since Vynnset has been released. Let's find like a low price. Like here's one for $9. Here's another one for $9. Here's one for $6, though it was light played. If it's going in a deck, it really doesn't matter. $8.90, and so we can see already, and this was all within this month, so just with the release of Vynnset, we can even see this blue line start to skyrocket, because these prices are actually, they are starting to sell for this price: $20, $24.95, $23.50. Revel in Runeblood is going to be an absolute staple in Vynnset because it wakes up cards like Rune Gate that will have you meet a rune chant condition to play out of the Banish Zone. So that is a highly recommend card on my list. So the second to last card that I'm going to recommend for you all is Swarming Gloomveil, another card out of the Everfest supplementary set. It is a 0 cost, hits for 3 base, and it blocks for 3. It is an attack action for the Runeblade class, and it says if you've played or created 1 or more auras this turn, Swarming Gloomveil gains Go Again. If you've played and or created 2 or more, gains +1. If you've played and or created 3 or more, it gains when this hits your hero. They can't prevent arcane damage from sources you control this turn. There's a lot of meat in that text box. Essentially, if you've made 1 rune chant, it gets Go Again. If you've made 2 rune chants, it gets +1 and Go Again. And now if you've made 3 rune chants and then you play Swarming Gloomveil, it gets +1, Go Again, and if this hits, they cannot prevent any future arcane damage that you were to present to your opponent. Now, this is again another Majestic in the Everfest set. It's sitting at the $26, $27 range. Let's round up, it's 27 bucks. Now this card has always maintained value because it has seen a lot of play in Briar and Viserai, but it's really not going down anytime soon. So if we want to take a look at the sales history and see kind of where the bottom was in the last couple weeks or even month, seeing a lot selling here. There's one for 17, there's some for 18, there's a few for $14. Like, those were really good prices, and that was still within this same month. So, but even then, like rainbow foils were about $25. That's how much it costs for just a non-foil one currently. So if we were to take a look at the rainbow foil Swarming Gloomveil price, we're going to be getting closer to the $34, $35 range for the blinged out version. Now again, you're going to want to wear 3 of these in your deck, so you know, this is going to be a big one. You're definitely going to pick this up because as soon as Vynnset's hero ability comes out, it's too late. Last but not least, we have Carrion Husk. This is a card released in Monarch. It's a legendary. It's a shadow equipment chest piece. So any shadow hero can play this, whether it be Chain, Leviah, Vynnset, or any other future heroes that they release with the shadow talent. Now this card has seen tons of play in Leviah. I think it's primarily their main chess piece when playing, you know, heavy blood debt decks, as well as Chain when he's going against, you know, heroes like Guardians or big hitters of that sort. This one card just blocks for 6. It's fantastic, though it does come with a catch, because it says if you defend with Carrion Husk, banish it when the combat chain closes. At the start of your turn, if you have 13 or less life, you banish Carrion Husk, and it does have blood debt. So as soon as you block with this, you banish it, and you will continue to have this blood debt ping you for the rest of your game. Now, as a Shadow Brute, Leviah specifically, there were ways to turn off that blood debt for your turn. In Chain, there was no way to turn off blood debt. The only way was to get it out of that Banish Zone so you could play it. As of now, we don't know if there's a way for Vynnset to turn off her blood debt entirely for the turn, but let's just take into account that it's going to play similar to the way that Chain plays, and the only way to turn it off is to just get it out of your Banish Zone. So keep that in mind, that this card, though it will block for 6, which is huge, it will probably likely continue to ping you for 1 at the end of your turn. So, and then likewise, if you just don't use it and you drop below the 13 or lower threshold of life, you have to put it in your Banish Zone anyway. So this is one of those cards that's like, hey, you really want to block with this somewhere in the mid to, you know, not too late of the game so that you get the full value of the 6 block, but then you kind of mitigate how long you're taking that blood debt for. You use this turn 1, turn 2, you're going to be taking a lot of blood debt over the course of the game. Just take a look at the Unlimited Edition Rainbow Foil in the past little bit. 113, 120. That's March. We're sitting, I see one for $50, one sold, and now just a few months later we're back up creeping into the $200 territory. So this is a huge card that you definitely want to pick up because the price is just going to continue to skyrocket, especially as they introduce even more shadow heroes, not only Vynnset, in this Dusk Till Dawn release. I want to explain why I've been gone for so long, and it was because I was working on Rathe, which is a Flesh and Blood marketplace that is only open for 24 hours once a week from Friday at 6 p.m. to Saturday at 6 p.m. And what we do is offer players and collectors the lowest prices on singles on the market. Now there's so many places where you can buy Flesh and Blood cards. There's Facebook Marketplace, Discord, there's TCG Player, of course, there's your friends, your LGS, your whatever. We wanted to take the guesswork out of, am I actually getting the best prices on the market, or should I wait and shop around? Maybe my shop got one in stock, and then before you know it, the price has skyrocketed and now you're paying out of pocket $20 or $30 more than you would have if you had just picked it up somewhere else. So what we'll do once a week is release this website, open it to the public, and ensure that you have the absolute lowest prices on the market. Now the information for this website is in the description below, but it is rathewares.com. We're on Twitter, we hope you follow us, and we have an Instagram which we will be spicing up a little bit. We've done a few giveaways, we've given away those jumbo dice. Yeah, just keep an eye out for us because we're going to be giving back to the community more than anything, and so we hope to see you on Fridays shopping with Rathewares. I hope you enjoyed my top 5 cards that you should pick up if you plan on playing Vynnset when Dusk Till Dawn releases. Please leave a comment down below if you think I missed anything or if you suggest other cards that she might enjoy playing. Leave a like and don't forget to subscribe. We'll catch you next time.